let us say hello to one Jordan Leavitt, who's getting the big-time fight. Hello, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty excited for everything.
Yeah, a lot going on in your life. By the way, happy early birthday to you. I believe your birthday is tomorrow, correct?
Yes, it is. I'll be 27 years young.
27 years young. I have to say, much like Mysterious Frank, I feel like you're a little wiser than 27. You're a little more mature. You don't come across as your typical 27, and that's a compliment. Do you take it as such?
Yeah, it's the trauma. It makes you grow up, you know. Yeah, I'm a little bit more mature for my age. So I feel like someone says I actually seem like I'm like a 35-year-old. No, I'm still a kid. So
I like it. But you are kind of like a wise old soul, if you will. So this is a big opportunity for you. A lot of, dare I say, newfound attention, newfound spotlight. How are you dealing with it ever since the fight was announced a couple of days ago?
I have mixed feelings. Like I've always kind of kept to myself. So I woke up, they didn't even tell me they're announcing it yet. And I had like 2,000 more followers. Everyone's tagging me and everything. So I just, muted everything. So I don't think I like the attention too much, but I'm excited for it. Like in terms of a business, in the business way, like it's really good to have more attention on myself. And I don't care for all the bells and whistles of the game for the most part. I kind of just like to fight and I like to compete, but it's nice. I have mixed feelings for sure.
I was wondering about that because I tagged you in my post this morning and it said you can't be tagged. I was like, oh, interesting. So was it because of the announcement you kind of turned everything off?
Yeah. I give myself 20 minutes a day where I can go on social media and be safe and then just to make my post my memes and then get off. I try to stay off of social media for the most part. It's like not the real world. It's distracting. And I think it's not emotionally healthy. So I just try to limit myself. So the Paddy Pimblett fight's definitely making it a little bit more difficult to stay off of it.
Wow, 20 minutes. You don't go 30 hour, you keep it to 20. How long have you been doing this?
Just for the past 2 months. Like I always did an hour or so a day, but then I was like, I have a kid. I have a bunch of goals for this year. I felt like social media was being very distracting. And so I'm trying to cut it. And I think it'll be good for this fight, especially because I feel like as long as I focus on the fight, I'm not too worried about it. But all the excess flash is distracting.
Right. So, what is your #1 goal for this year?
I want to fight 4 times this year, on like the last 12 months. So if I fight Paddy, that'll be 3 fights in 7 months. And then I just have to get 1 more done before December. And then I can just hopefully relax. We have enough money to buy a house and just relax with the family and plan out the next move. But yeah, 4 fights for this year and just reading 100 books for this year. That's another goal I have. So I'm just reading and training.
Yes, I've heard about this goal of reading 100 books, which is tremendous. I believe you're at 35, 6, 7, somewhere in that range?
Yeah, I'm at 36. I fell behind in April, but I'm slowly catching up. If I read 14 books in June, I'll be right up on schedule. So
now, is this actually reading the book or is it audiobook count as well?
Audiobook counts as well, but I've only really listened to like 3 audiobooks.
Okay. So you're actually taking the time to read these books?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Have you ever hit the 100 mark in a year?
Yeah, I did 4 years ago. Like the year I got my contract, or the year before that, I read 100 books for the year, but I didn't have a kid. I wasn't living out on my own. Now I'm married, kid, dogs, all that jazz. So a little bit more distractions now, but I'm pretty confident I'll reach it.
And what's the reason for this goal? Like why 100? Why not 50, 75, open-ended? Why the 100? Why is this so important for you?
I've always done at least a book a week for the past 5 years.
Wow.
And that got really easy. So then I read 100 books 3 years ago. And then I'm like, okay, that was a little much. Then I read 70 books and that didn't seem quite enough. So now I'm just going back to 100 and just trying to force myself to, I read a lot of nonfiction and fiction. So just kind of growing my mind and learning things.
That's
I'm not
amazing.
in school anymore now that I'm 5 or so.
Yeah. Wow. I give you a lot of credit for that. Best book you read this year of the 36?
Ooh, that's hard. I think the book that gave me like the strongest reaction was The War of Art.
Okay.
And that book was really good. And then also this book called A Man Called Ove, which is like, if like you watched the beginning of the movie Up and you felt depressed, this book will make you feel depressed the entire book. So those are my 2 favorite books of the year so far.
Wow. And what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts and From a Buick 8 by Stephen King. So those are I'm bouncing between today.
Wow. So sometimes you do 2 at the same time?
I'll read like 5 or 6 at the same time.
Why?
I feel like reading like eating several things on a plate. Like you get bored of one flavor, you hop to another, it helps you eat more. And I feel like if I focus on one book at a time, if I'm like not feeling a certain part of the book, I may just not read. If I'm reading several books at the same time, I can like jump to different flavors, different feels, different paces, and that way I get more done.
That is impressive. And like you said, you're a father. How do you have the time to train, be a dad? I mean, this takes a lot out of you, right? I mean, you must be exhausted at the end of the day. You're a pro fighter fighting in the UFC. You're a father. I believe your child is 1 or a little over 1, right? So, I mean, you have your hands full. How do you have the time to read as well?
I'm a bad father, but no. It's just they nap a lot. I read in between workouts. I read when I'm getting physical therapy. I listen to some nonfiction audiobooks as I drive. I just try to. I don't play video games anymore. I don't go on social media. And I sleep like 5 hours a day. I don't sleep very well because I have a kid. So I just have a lot of time just to, read and relax.
Man, I have a lot of respect for that. Well done. So when you got the word that Paddy would be your next opponent, first off, were you aware? I mean, I feel like it might be a silly question, but I don't know how in tune you are with the rest of the fighters in your weight class, with the sport. Some people don't watch the sport. Did you know who Paddy Pimblett was?
I knew who he was when I watched his first fight, and then I saw how much media was being put towards him. So I didn't really know who he was before. And yeah, I'm not too like hip with it. Like everyone's telling me he's like really heavy, and I don't know that for sure. But I don't really know too much about him, honestly. I just have really watched his fights. He seems pretty funny. I like his interviews. And I was just surprised when I got the call. I was excited because I'm always excited for a fight. And I actually initially was saying no because they were like, "You want to fight in July in England?" I'm like, "No." And then like an hour later, like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hate the travel." And I fought like a few months, like 4 weeks ago. I'm fine. But it's Paddy Pimblett. And I'm like, okay, I think I could travel. I think I could get that done. So excited. But then I thought about it a little bit more. I'm like, he's been picking kind of easy fights, or at least his team has, the UFC has for him. And I'm like, oh, I think they think I'm the easy fight. So it's kind of offended me, but it's all good. I think I have a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm pretty excited for this matchup.
So do you honestly feel like they are picking you because they think that he could beat you and you're that proper step up in his progression as a UFC fighter? You're the name, you have a couple wins, but ultimately they have more invested in him, so they want him to beat you. Is that what you feel?
Yeah, 100%. If I was trying to push Paddy Pimblett, who I think is talented and I like him, fan of him, sorry I'm going to beat you. But if I watch this kid get chinned by 2 guys who are not the best, almost lose, and then kind of take victory from the jaws of defeat, I would want him to fight a guy who doesn't like the power punch. And if you watch my fights, it seems like I don't like to punch very hard to the head, and it would give Paddy a lot of chances to, make up for a lot of technical weaknesses. But I think I'm not too worried about it. I think I fought better strikers. I fought better grapplers. I just haven't fought Paddy Pimblett, and he hasn't fought me. And I think this is going to be a little bit of egg on people's faces when I think the fight comes. I think I'm going to handily beat him.
Wow, this is a lot of fun. So I'm curious, you probably, just based on your assessment right there, you've watched his 2 UFC fights, right?
Yeah.
Your assessment of his performances in those?
He's incredibly tough. He has an eye for a finish. He's like an ambush hunter, like one of those spiders that comes out of the hole and drags you in. But he leaves a lot of openings. I feel like when I watch his fights, even his Cage Warriors fights, anytime someone grapples him back, he loses. And he's so tough. Every fight I watch, it seems like he gets dropped or he gets hurt. Scousers don't get knocked out, but hopefully I can put him to sleep. We'll see if I can do that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you take away all the flash and social media, which I don't really take a part of, I don't think there's too much to worry about. I feel like if I just focus on the fight and I don't let the crowd get to me, I think I have no worries. I'm very excited, no concerns whatsoever. I think he has to get lucky.
The crowd is an interesting point that you just brought up because he's a fan favorite. Those English crowds are tremendous. We saw it in March. How do you feel about, I mean, you are not going to be the fan favorite. I think that's fair to say. You will be in enemy territory. No one there is going to want you to win, and I think you know this. You don't need me to say this to you. How do you feel about being that guy? Because you're such a likable guy. You're smiling all the time. How do you feel about being the enemy? Will you play that up?
I can play it up. They can think of whatever they want about me. It's gonna be my hometown after I win. They're gonna love me. They just don't know it yet. After 15 minutes of combat, I'm sure they'll like me. And I'm used to flying to people's hometown, beating up their cousins, having things thrown at me, booze, all that jazz. I fought a guy where his coach is the ref. I don't care about enemy territory. I do a bunch of flamboyant stuff after I win. I get plenty of hate. I don't fit the typical fighter mold. And I feel like if there was any fighter around our ranking that wouldn't care about that stuff, I think it's me. I don't fear being disliked, but I know they're going to love me.
This is great because you just alluded to it. You're a mild-mannered guy. You don't like the spotlight. You keep to yourself. However, no one celebrates quite like you. I mean, you really put yourself out there when you celebrate. As DC said, you're dropping it low. You're twerking. You're doing all this stuff that we are not used to seeing. Where does this Jordan Leavitt come from? Like I said, you're pretty mild-mannered, and then all of a sudden you're freaking in a nightclub over there at Soul Train. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Where does this come from?
Honestly, everything I do after my fights is like a result of a bet I make during camp. Like, I bet you would. Imagine if you did the Dirty Dancing lift. Wouldn't that be ridiculous? And I'm like, bet. And then I do it, like, as a joke. Like, we were practicing it backstage. Didn't really plan on it. What if someone twerked after a fight? I'm like, I could do that. That'd be pretty funny. So it's always like my friends at the gym, on my syndicate, we're a pretty colorful team. Like, what if someone do this? I'm like, I'm the one to do that. Don't worry. Like, I'm not scared to do something stupid, like look a little silly. So it all starts off with just a joke and then kind of spirals out of control.
Do you have something planned for July 23rd already?
I have a few things planned. It all depends on how the fight goes.
Yes.
But I got a few celebration things to pull out of my hat.
Anything you can share at this time?
It might be a little dangerous for me. That's about the only hints I can give.
Okay.
But I'm excited for the O2 Arena. It's my first time fighting from a crowd since I fought the Promise and Mac years ago. So there's a few things I have planned.
Oh, this is great. Has the UFC ever told you to tone it down with the celebrations?
They kind of alluded to it backstage, like, don't do this, this, or this. And I'm like, well, luckily, the done thing I have planned is none of those things.
Okay.
So, but it's hard to gauge what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure if I win the way I want, I might get in trouble for what I'm going to do, but we're going to see. We're going to see.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned the hate. You get a lot of hate for these celebrations?
Yes, I think it's starting to tone down. I think they've just come to accept it. I start off as kind of just like a meme, and I feel like, okay, he can fight too. He's not just a character. And yeah, a lot of macho guys between the ages of 20 and 45 don't really like my antics.
Yeah.
But, I feel like my demographic of followers is 40% women and 60% men, which is very different for a lot of MMA fighters. I have a different demographic. I have a different Venn diagram of fans. So my fans like it. In order to keep getting they're going to keep getting what I do.
For whatever it's worth, I love it because I like when people make other people uncomfortable, right? And I feel like you make people uncomfortable because this sport, everyone has to be tough and macho and full of machismo. And you're out there knocking people out, finishing people, and then twerking all over them. I mean, if we get to the point where, no dog in the race, you beat Paddy Pimblett in London, and you're all over that cage twerking, I mean, the O2 may burn down. It'll be incredible. What a crazy scene that would be. You realize this, right? I mean, they're not going to take too kindly to those celebrations if you beat their guy.
Luckily, I have good head movements. When they start throwing things at me, I'll be bobbing and weaving, dodging those beer cans. But yeah, I'm excited to cause a riot. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Okay,
interesting. You have a background in law, right? When you're done fighting, you want to go back to being a lawyer?
Yeah, I was applying to law schools and everything and getting things back. And then 2020 happened. So I have 9 credits left for my degree. And I was already kind of getting acceptances and everything. And yeah, contract came first. And I'm really enjoying not being a student for the first time in my life. It's been 2 years where I haven't been going to school, and that's been awesome. But yeah, if things don't work out, I'm totally fine. I'm not concerned for my future whatsoever. I feel like it takes a lot of the pressure off of me when I'm training, because I feel like a lot of fighters don't have very many avenues. So yeah, if things don't go perfectly for this, opportunity I have, I'll just go to law school and sell out and do what I have to do.
And you grew up in Las Vegas. What was that like?
Well, I think it was really cool. I had a lot of diverse experiences. I'm a fourth generation Las Vegas. My great grandma moved here, and my family's been here forever. So I don't know anywhere else. Whenever I travel out of town, it's very strange. Things are open 24 hours, things close, and I'm at the 24-hour city with a little wild, and I feel like I'm a little wild. And I think it's just been the perfect atmosphere for me to develop and grow into being like a unique individual. And I love Vegas. So it's running out of water, and it's going to be in hospitable soon, but
Right.
it's my home.
And as far as like, the nightlife in Vegas and whatnot, did you party a lot as a kid? These dance moves look like they're pretty refined. Were you out and about on the strip, going to the clubs and whatnot when you were younger?
I went through a little bit of a stage where I go to clubs and everything, but honestly, I went to a lot of church and school dances. When I was like in high school with a lot of my friends, we all like to go to dances, and there's a very large Mormon population in Las Vegas. So a lot of weddings in my early 20s, late teens. So just have a lot of hours, and your 10,000 hours. I got that in dancing. So a lot of opportunities to celebrate and dance.
You dropping it like it's hot at these weddings as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm a riot.
Oh.
I did ballroom. I also did ballroom with my sisters when I was younger. So slow dances, got it. Ratchet music, I got it. I just like to cut loose and have I have many hours in dancing.
And why Monkey King?
Ooh, that one actually came up twice. So in middle school, I went to see the Forbidden Kingdom with my friends, and we were watching like, oh my gosh, that's you. And then like that kind of fizzled out after a few years. But then I was wrestling, and like my mom was videotaping it. And after I beat the kid, I kind of like walked on my knuckles and like put like the wristband in the center of the circle, and I walked off on my knuckles like as a joke. And then they're like, you're like a monkey. And they're like, and I'm like, no, the king of monkeys. Like, yeah, you're like the monkey king. And then it's been there since high school.
Wow.
And it's been cool because it was like a joke.
And you don't mind it, I would imagine.
Oh no, I don't mind it. I think the imagery for like, Eastern philosophy and religious thought, and then like Kung Fu history, like the Monkey King's a archetype in like in that part of the world. And I think it fits. I'm playful. I take things seriously, and there's a little bit of arrogance in my style and flamboyance, and I feel like it matches the whole Monkey King moniker.
Do you get this a lot? Like you're talking to someone, you're meeting someone, whatever it may be, and then you tell them what you do for a living, and just you even referencing that Eastern philosophy and whatnot. This isn't. You're not the typical fighter. You don't speak like the typical fighter. Do you get a lot of people like, what? You don't fight in the UFC? Like they don't actually believe what you do for a living?
Yeah, most of the time. I got my first stitches ever, my last fight for my headbutt. I'm not a jock. I don't really watch sports. I don't follow things. I'm not built all buff, roided out and stuff. So a lot of people don't believe me when I say I fight for the UFC. It's like, oh, you mean you train MMA? I'm like, no, I fight for the UFC. Like, I know the terminology, and especially when I was in school and I was like 6-0, 7-0, they would say, oh, no one's a professional athlete. I'm like, I'm a professional athlete. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, for real though. Like I'm on Contender Series like next week. So yeah, a lot of people don't believe me, but I'm starting to get recognized on the street, at least in my hometown. And that's kind of alarming sometimes, but mostly it's pretty fun.
Kimbo and Brendan Schaub, Roy Nelson, all that.
Yeah, that was a fun season. So.
Yeah, arguably the last fun season. I think it was Rampage and Rashad who were the coaches for that. That's amazing. And now here you are. By the way, when you started to watch a little closer, was there a fighter who you liked the way he conducted himself or herself, and you were like, that's the type of fighter that I want to be. That's the type of personality that I want to be if I make it to the UFC?
I really liked Lyoto Machida when I first started off. I thought like his whole aesthetic, I like his whole way he carried himself was like very inspiring. And then I really liked GSP, like his professionalism, how he didn't really fit the mold of a fighter either. And that kind of gave me a lot of confidence to like, okay, like nerds can do this too, and then when I started fighting, I walked into the gym and the first person to say hi to me was Roxanne Modafferi, and definitely marched to the beat of her own drum. And she definitely gave me a lot of like courage to like not really conform. So I just have, had a lot of examples and luckily they were in my path. And I just, yeah, very blessed, very lucky.
I love it. And what a great, leader to sort of follow, the veteran, the legend, the pioneer, if you will, Roxanne Modafferi. So in conclusion, July 23rd, O2 Arena, you're going to enemy territory. You're fighting the golden boy, the golden child, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. In your mind, how do you actually see this fight playing out? You referenced 15 minutes earlier. Do you think it's a hard kind of grinder of a fight, or do you think it's a finish?
I always plan for decision in my mind. That way I just focus on doing what I need to do in every moment. But I think I'll finish him. I think opportunities to present himself. I think he's going to get impatient. I know we're both probably working on our striking because the grappling, we know that's going to be competitive, but I think I'm going to win by finish. I really do. But I'm planning on the decision, and I don't plan on it being close. The judges aren't going to be able to give him a hometown decision, I imagine. And he's the golden boy, but I'm the platinum boy. I think I'm going to prove it on July 23rd.
By the way, he's known to dance as well, sort of dance. He kind of does like a gyrating thing. What do you think of his moves?
I really like him.
Okay.
Like, I'm not on social media, so I know he gets a lot of hate. And I was surprised by the overwhelming amount of love I got on social media.
Oh, wow.
Very little people hated on me for this fight. And I know something about he said something about Georgians. I don't know anything about that. That's hearsay for me. But
he said about what?
He's cool.
What did you reference?
About Georgians, the whole.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know too much about him, but he seemed like a lot of fun. I don't think he's disrespectful to the people he's fighting generally. He calls out a lot of big names. A lot of people do. And I think he's a good kid. And I actually think we'd probably be friends under other circumstances. I think we have a similar vibe, at least from what I've seen. And he's friends with Molly McCann, and she's an awesome girl. I've met Molly. We're friends. So he can't be too bad. So I like his dance moves. I like him. I like his aesthetic. I like his butt.
There's going to be no animosity here. I mean, you just showered him with praise and compliments. I feel like this is going to be quite lovely.
Yeah. Just 15 minutes tops.
Right.
Pain, all that stuff. But I fight my friends every day.
That's true.
I don't have trouble doing that. So I'll fight them, and then we can go out to the club, and I'll buy a drinks on me,
Well, this has been wonderful. Great to meet you, Jordan. I like what you do. I like how you conduct yourself, how you represent yourself. Well done. Congrats on getting this fight, this opportunity. I wish you the very best on July 23rd. And if you win, if it all goes well for you, I can't wait to see what you have planned for those fans at the O2. That should be something.
Thank you, Ariel. I'm excited for it too. I think there's going to be something special on that night.
All right. Take care and good luck with the books. We'll talk to you soon. Really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. There he is, Jordan Leavitt, the Monkey King.